There's some noise in the background. Can everybody mute their mics, please? Yeah, I think that's better. Good morning and welcome to all our viewers to the Times of India's Mission Admission program. Mission Admission is the biggest higher education event in Bangalore. It brings together thought leaders and eminent educationists to help students and parents get a holistic understanding of educational courses and career options that are available after 12th standard or PUC. In this session, we are going to discuss the absolutely fascinating area of robotics and artificial intelligence, AI. AI today is probably the most used word in technology. Technologists are trying to infuse intelligence into just about everything. And to discuss this, we have three absolute top-class experts in the space, all of whom have been working in this area for several years, many years actually. Professor Sadagopan is with us. He actually needs no introduction. He has been on this forum before, but let me still say a few words about him. He is the director of IIIT Bangalore, one of the best technology training and research institutions in the state and the country. He's a graduate of Madras University and Purdue University in the US. He has taught for over 25 years at IIT Kanpur, IIM Bangalore, IIT Madras, and IIIT Bangalore. He has wide research interests that include operations research, decision theory, simulation, enterprise computing, programming languages, databases, multimedia, and e-governance. Professor Sadagopan consults widely across different industry segments and lectures extensively at corporations, industry events, and universities across the world. Welcome, Professor Sadagopan. We have with us Balaji Viswanathan. Balaji Viswanathan is a robotics engineer. He did his master's in computer science from the University of Maryland. He started his career at Microsoft at its headquarters in Redmond. He returned to India and founded several startups, including his latest one, Invento, a robotics company. Many of you will remember the robot that greeted Prime Minister Narendra Modi and Donald Trump's daughter, Ivanka Trump, at the Global Entrepreneurship Summit in Hyderabad in 2017. That was one of Invento's early robots. I think those robots are now become a lot more sophisticated. Today, his robots can be seen in airports, hospitals, at various companies. Balaji says his goal is to build the world's best social robot, one that can provide great sales and customer satisfaction. And we have Professor Amudha. Professor Amudha is a teacher and researcher at the Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham, and this session is also powered by Amrita Vishwavidyapeetham. She has been with the institution since 1998. She has been in the leadership role in the computer science department, which has undergraduate, postgraduate, and doctorate programs with over 700 students and over 30 faculty members. Professor Amudha is an expert in the fields of artificial intelligence, computational intelligence, computer vision, human-computer interaction, eye tracking, and machine learning. She has published over 70 research papers in journals and conferences, and she has filed patents. I have with me also my colleague Avik Das. The two of us together will moderate this session. Initially, the speakers will each speak for about 7 to 10 minutes. After that, the forum will be open for questions. The chat box will also be open. So any of you who have questions can put your questions in that chat box. And Avik and I'll look at those questions and ask them to the panelists. So let me start with requesting Professor Amudha to start the session. Professor Amudha, go ahead.
Oh, thanks, Sujit, John, Vamsi, and Navik, the Times team. I just welcome Professor Sadagopan and Balaji, the colleagues, panel member for the session. Officially, let me open the discussion forum with a brief introduction to artificial intelligence. So the entire focus of the discussion is around 5 W's of AI. That's how I have framed it across. What lies in AI? When it has happened? Where are we moving to? Why we have to evolve towards AI? And who has to learn AI? So this is how I'm just framed the entire flow. So just let us start with this very simple definition of AI. Very simple definition in the forum. Any machine which acts intelligently. So now how do you look at definition for an intelligence. How do you name, explain an intelligence? So intelligence, if you wanted to look at it, it can be defined in different multiple ways. The capacity of a logic, understanding, reasoning, planning, adapting to new situations. It can be called as any way. But if you look at the history of AI, which is not very recent, as the boom which looks at, it has been started in 1955. And generally, if you wanted to tell a system is intelligently developed, we generally, as an academician, we look at the very former Turing test developed by Alan Turing, which tells if you're interacting with a system, and if you're not able to differentiate whether you're interacting with a machine or a human, then you have a confusion. Okay, he's more intelligent. So it means like we are trying to build in the machine a very human-like behavior. So that's what is we are trying to do. So we are trying to imitate or build a system which is more intelligent, and we are trying to inbuilt that capacity into the system. So now if you look at it, we have, as I looked at it, is 1955 is where we have started, and we have come to a long era of AI. So if you have looked across around you, you would have found a lot of technologies which has already incorporated AI. So if you look at from the early eras, we have started from IBM Deep Blue, IBM Watson, Google Chatbot, Amazon Echo, which you have been really using. You will find it's all of a part of AI. Currently, we can tell in the history, we are now in the era of machine learning or deep learning, with a lot of technological support from computer vision, natural language processing, chatbots, autonomous system, robotic personal assistant, surgical robots, next generation cloud computing. So there are a lot many technologies which is supporting this AI in this current frame. To understand the significance of AI, let me illustrate with a very simple use case. Now we are all in the current COVID situation, and we know as students, we are now going into a remote online learning process. So the user is interacting with the remote scenario. So, but how do I know whether he is really interacting with the environment, whether he is interested in the content which I'm trying to deliver? So if you look at the research area in which I'm working, it is, we work on a motto, we are what we see. That means when a teacher is interacting with the student, he is able to look at his gestures, he is going to look at his emotional features and understand whether he is really interested or interactive in the class. But how do I get it done with this in a remote environment? Generally, we look at in a scenario, they try to understand whenever you're browsing a history of content, they look at your content, how you browse the content, what content you're being interesting. And so the next recommendation for you will be from that content which has been interesting you to. But is there a system which tries to understand the state of mind you are there? I'm sure it is not there now. Is it not? We are not, am I happy now? Is it delivering a happy content? No. So how do you understand that? So we have to explore what's the general experience we are really feeling it across. So we will assume that it's very good if you have a very personal virtual assistant who can take care of my specific needs. That makes the system more better. The customer becomes more satisfied with such sort of experience. So if you look at the entire aim of all the business ventures is towards to make the customer more satisfied. So how do I make the customer more satisfied? I have to provide a very awesome experience. So the customer is available in multiple domains ranging from manufacturing, transportation, telecom, pharmaceutical, healthcare, financial, government. So everybody is serving some customer. So customer is the main stakeholder in this. So how do I make sure that I make his experience more awesome? So I have to explore AI. I have to explore how I can explore AI to make that existing use case which I'm delivering to him in a more productive way, more collaborative way. So for that, how AI is going to support. So we look at different ways of doing it across. I can generally put certain points over here. We have to move forward or venture towards human robot directly collaborating on a production line, real-time decision making. So the operator or the person has got the right information at the right time. So I have to have at this time what I should do, what decisions I have to do. So I should have a lot of analytics which can help me to support the decision making, a predictive and remote environment. So I can maintain the system at anywhere I would like to do it. And whenever I'm trying to work, somebody has to look at the physical and the cognitive workload of the operator so that he is sufficiently taken care and a lot of support system has been given to him. So generally, the entire paradigm is shifting. So we are shifting from a machine-driven productivity to a balanced machine-human productivity, from a desk and machine-bound to introduce access to information regardless of wherever you are sitting or whichever location you are there. And machines which are in a cage, we are moving to machines on the body, for example, AR, wearables, virtual reality, and so many other technologies. And a more, not a comfortable environment, a smoky work environment to a modern factory floors. And from paperwork, tedious and repetitive tasks, which has been killing our creativity, productivity, we are trying to make to a more true employee engagement and focus on value added activities. So we are making the entire world into a new paradigm shift. So if you look at the entire concepts which I'm trying to revolve over here, we looked at, we are not changing anything. We are just trying to move forward to a more creative environment. So we are trying to resolve the mystery, and we are trying to take along the machines along with us so that we can go to an exciting career, which can be a exciting opportunity for everyone to work across. So if you try to look at the points which I started with it, who, what, when, where, and why. So we have been looking at what is AI, what lies behind AI, where AI is driving towards it, and who are the partners in AI. I think everybody are partners in AI. Everybody, the entire world, every individual in this world is a partner in this AI. So the specific code I just wanted to tell for everyone over here is, if you educate today's student as if we were living yesterday, we did steal their tomorrow. So let us all explore the exciting opportunities available in AI so that the students are available with a lot of and ample opportunities to make their career choice exciting and interesting and more creative. Thank you.
Sujit, you have to unmute.
Oh, so sorry. Oh, thanks a lot, Professor Amudha. That is a good introduction to AI. Balaji, okay, Balaji's got his presentation. Yeah, Balaji, please go ahead. Yeah, it's visible, Balaji. Balaji, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So sorry, I forgot to
unmute. Is it?
Unmute. You guys can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Balaji Viswanathan. I'm the CEO of Invento Robotics. So in this presentation, I'll just walk you guys through some of the things that we see in the future of robots. COVID has especially accelerated the adoption of robots, and many of the issues that were long there, especially like for like labor shortage in healthcare. So world is short by over 6 million nurses even before COVID. So what COVID has done is accelerated many of these issues and has pushed the adoption of robots far bigger than ever before. In fact, by 2030, we expect to see a world where robots will be as commonplace as a mobile phone. So there could be billions of robots by 2030 doing a range of fields and operations. So we are at a very exciting time and especially for students who are just joining their engineering and related disciplines. This could be a time where they could really grasp, be an early mover in this thing and create their career around. So imagine the previous generation that was getting onto their computer science courses in their 90s and built their whole life and career around. This is a similar explosion that is waiting to happen in robotics. So, quick intro. So we build Make in India robots, and we are not just selling to large enterprises in India. We export the robots globally. So we have customers in Australia, in Singapore, in Middle East, in the US, and so on. So we are a company who exports high-tech equipments globally. And pre-COVID, we were also setting up a sales office in China. In fact, China, we saw a lot of demand for our robots, but the COVID has just substantially delayed our expansion into China. So we build robots in India, but for the world. In here, what we talk about is like the change that is happening from COVID. So this post-COVID world is going to be quite different, but not all change is bad. And especially for a country which is fairly poor, this kind of the change that is going to happen could be substantially positive. Like what happened with the ICT revolution in the 80s to 90s. This is a time and opportunity for us to grasp this thing, because we don't have a lot of room to fall down. So we have if there is a change, there is significantly higher probability that the change could push us up if we are really looking forward to it. And one of the key things that could happen with the robotics is Bangaluring the world in a much bigger way. So we joke internally that if the 1980s and 90s has enabled the back office to be Bangalore. So when I mean Bangalore, so in the US there's a term called Bangaluring, which means like moving your jobs to Bangalore or India in general. So in the 80s and 90s, your back office, your call centers, and your some of this document automation stuff got Bangalore. But with robots, what we can do is we can automate a lot more of the front end jobs and could Bangalore that too. And in fact, I'll share an interesting anecdote. So when I just joined my university at University of Maryland, my college president, he took me to their family dinner, and we were just chatting. And one of the things he was saying was, I'm going to educate my grandchildren in things that cannot be Bangalore. I want them to be working on snow moving or any of these physical jobs which cannot be Bangalore. He was just joking. But because you said the robotics technology is not there yet, but that technology has come quite closer, where you could have the lawn moving or like dishwashing or the snow moving. And to warehouse automation, to even nursing, a lot of it can be done at remote, and this could open up whole new sectors and jobs like what the 90s ICT revolution did. So the biggest change that is happening is the combination of the robot plus human. So people have been thinking these two in an independent way, but in the last 10 years, there's a lot of improvement on the human-robot collaboration. The HRI and HRC have become like disciplines of their own. And there is a lot more emphasis on how the robots can be working as a fleet in swarms and in ways that can produce a far more smarter behavior. This is going to be a key game changer. Until now, it was more on the theory and academia that was dealing with it, but now we are talking about industry adopting human-robot collaboration in a far bigger way. So one of the first thing that is happening is on the disinfection. So this is one of our robots called Astra, which we have put it in hospitals and other areas. There's a lot of demand on the cleaning and disinfection. So there were earlier Roomba kind of robots that were doing simple things like vacuuming. We're talking about far more advanced things like disinfecting with UVC radiation or even disinfecting with chemical agents and mopping and so on. So this with far more mobility capabilities in an enterprise setting, this could be a significant game changer globally. And many of the janitorial work could be done by the robots. And these fleets of millions of these robots will be managed by fleet managers who could be sitting out of India or other low-cost locations. And the second key thing that we are seeing is on the teledoc operation. So doctors are very scared to get near patients, and the productivity of the doctors are also quite lower if they're just walking from bed to bed and then doing it. Senior doctors especially find this walking quite harder for them. What if we have the robots carrying all the key diagnostic equipments, including pulse oximeters, your thermometers, your BP monitoring, and all the vitals management, all to the patient on the bedside, be able to collect initial data like how much are pain and so on, and then connect the doctors. The doctor can look at it, see all the data, see the patient history and so on. And based on that, they can also refer to the next expert. The next expert could as easily come into it like how from Professor Amudha to I moved. So we can as easily switch the video streams from one expert to another, bringing a massive shift in how medicine is done. And these doctors could also be sitting worldwide. So you could be having the patient in New York, and the doctor could be sitting out of Arizona or or even India, dealing with many of these things. So there are regulatory issues that are currently there are some challenges, but even the regulatory things are getting changed due to the COVID scenario. The third key thing that is changing significantly is the last mile delivery problem. So Swiggy, Zomato, and their equivalent globally, they have all been facing the issue of a huge exploding cost of delivery. Because this thing is the cost of the people, a person who's like, coming to your doorstep and waiting, ringing your bell and so on. So instead, robots could be doing a lot more of this thing. They have tried with drones, but drones have their own challenges, both legal challenges as well as the load carrying challenges. Whereas robots could significantly do that. There are robots in the US which have been delivering these things in campuses and other areas. The next 2-3 years, we expect to see robots becoming far more common in delivery kind of applications. The next one is on the warehouse and factory automation. So you guys, some of you might have heard of this company called Grey Orange, which is one of the India's leading robotics companies. They have been doing warehouse automation for e-commerce deliveries. So when you order a piece of thing in, like, say, Flipkart, at the warehouse, the robot will be getting all these individual things. Okay, you ordered some piece of clothes, like you ordered some stationery and so on. It'll go to these individual racks, lift them up, and then bring them to the human operator, who can just take this thing and then build the package. This makes the warehouse far more smarter. But we are just at the very surface of warehouse automation. What could happen over the next 10 years as the warehousing and supply chain grows in India? We expect to see far more of these new warehouses and factories come up right away with the factory, the robots built in. So we are already seeing with multiple customers who are taking our robots and putting for these warehouse applications. We expect to see millions of these robots come up and then make your shopping experience far more smarter. So that is on the back end. Now your front end shopping is also changing in the post-COVID world. There's a lot of like top retailers are looking at changing your experience when you walk into the store. So they want to provide you an insane experience that you cannot get it online. So your shopping cart will know you, will understand you, will track you, will come towards you, and then it can take in what all things you are looking to buy today. It can scan from your phone and other things. And then based on it can do like a map of the environment. It can take you around that environment, helping you purchase things. So there is already like trials that have run on this thing. And we expect to see retail industry again becoming a significant player in adoption of robots in the post-COVID world in the next 3-4 years. And again, there's a lot of things that is happening on office and hospital automation. And the final thing is on the customer service and front-end automation. So this is going to be primarily centered on the robot's ability to converse really well. I mean, when we mean conversation, not just through the voice, but like just as I'm doing, like it will be doing through hands, through eyes, through his body language, and so on. So to be able to have a very engaging conversation, whether you are in the concierge of a hotel or a reception at a large office, or you are engaging with a salesperson at a mall, this could provide a range of customer service capabilities. And especially with this introduction of GPT-3, which is a very important thing that has happened in the industry in the last few weeks. We have got an early access and we were able to integrate our robots to it. The robots are able to answer things like crazy level. And it can also answer questions in dozens of languages. So this again could enable your customer experience in places like banks, hotels, and offices far better than what it is. So in the interest of time, I will stop with this thing. What I want to convince you is the number of applications that is there in robotics is equivalent to what the computing promise that was made in the 80s and 90s. Like almost how every sector was touched by computers, and this is going to happen in this thing. And we have a huge advantage as India. We have been able to significantly get advantage from the previous ICT revolution. We can make a significant dent in the world with this revolution, and this could provide us millions of new jobs that are going to be needed for the new generation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Balaji. This is really cool. I mean, I had only seen your Mitra robots. I think you have gone way beyond I've not seen any of those other robots till now. They look so cool. Fantastic. We'll come to more of that later on the Q&A session. Professor Sadagopan, please, like you said, I think we need some intelligence in this Zoom to figure out when muting and unmuting should happen, no? Yeah. Okay, please go ahead.
Thank you, Sujit. And thanks to the students and parents who are kind of joined all over. Okay, thank you for taking time out this morning. And thank you, Times of India, for having me every time. And especially to Sujit. And my co-panelists, Amudha and Balaji, have made my job much simpler. What I thought I will do is to talk about what happens when AI and robotics come together. Okay, so the interface area. First and foremost, I want the students first, and of course the parents, to break out of stereotypes. Don't necessarily think AI must be a chess playing program. Robotics robo must look like a stock figure moving menacingly close to you at a reasonably slow speed. First and foremost, robos need not be hardware. You saw amazing robots, Balaji, okay? But not all of them need to be software. So let me give an example. So at least the parents would know in around 2000, there was a big talk of call centers in this country, hundreds of thousands of jobs all over, etc. And 5 years down the line, whenever we call, we used to be presented with a menu, press 1 to do this, press 2 to do this, quite often a painful kind of stuff. But today, when you kind of visit many sites, for example, you go to a real estate company like Hiranandani, and as you mouse over, suddenly a window will pop up. May I help you? And you type something, and you actually get a response. And sometimes you get a response, say, introducing the person. So I am Lakshmi, I am Subramanian, etc., etc. You keep asking questions, and you keep getting answers. They look fairly intelligent, extremely well done, full-formed sentences. The only thing you don't know is Lakshmi is not a lady. Subramanian is not a gentleman. They happen to be simple programs. We call them bots, software robots. And there is a big area which kind of tries to get it back, get the business process outsourcing in a different way. It is called RPA, Robotic Process Automation. Next, you all know Google. You set up a website for your company, assuming you are Samuel and you are starting an engineering college, or you are Ibrahim and starting a medical college. You go ahead, set up a website. And lo and behold, within a week, when somebody is asking for a new engineering college or a new medical college, Google pops up Samuel Engineering College and Ibrahim Medical College. You never told Google. You never told Google. What Google does is it uses a bot that traverses millions and millions of sites practically every hour, discovers changes in information, catalogs them, discovers new websites. It reads the content, understands the content, all machine learning, machine understanding, natural language processing, catalogs them, of course, the core of Google, it's all database, and organizes the information. Remember the Google's vision, organizing the information for the world. That's what it does extremely well. Third, not all robots look like a robo. I'm taking local examples so that you can relate. Okay, not every one of you are from a metro like a Chennai or a Bangalore or a Hyderabad. There are tier 2 towns, tier 3 towns. I'll take an example of in Tamil Nadu. There's a town called Karur, which is not Chennai, which is not even Salem, which is a tier 2 town. It is a non-tier 3 town. And there is a bank which is not very famous, which is not very big. You might not have heard of it, but it is not that small either. It is called Karur Vaishya Bank. You go there, okay? There is a robo which doesn't look like a robo. First and foremost, it is wearing a sari and welcomes you in Chase Tamil, and then asks you what is that you want, helps you, gives instructions. It even knows the local people. Finally, it will say, go to Vishalakshi Madam in counter number 3 in Tamil. Okay. At IIITB, we have an interesting PhD student. He is a performing top-class neurosurgeon with a master's in neurosurgery from one of the top schools in the planet. He has registered for a PhD in computer science. He's a doctor in NIMHANS. It is the National Institute for Mental Health and Allied Sciences. A NIMHANS neurosurgeon, he performs a couple of surgeries every day, takes time off as a part-time PhD student. And he already has a patented and interesting robo. It looks like a snake, so he calls it a snake robo. It is much smaller than a snake. It is more like insect robo, which can get into the brain. And you all know how a brain is, right? So little things. It can kind of go around and do a brain surgery sometime soon. It's not going to be 1 or 2 years. It may take several years, but that is the kind of stuff. Okay. So I just wanted you to kind of keep these examples in mind. AI is embedded in each one of them. Okay. So the AI is kind of behind them. And there is significant amount of machine learning. All these fellows, all these programs constantly learn through machine learning, so that as you start using, they're better and better every time. So I think Balaji talked of millions of jobs. Yes, there are millions of jobs available. Amudha talked about amazing stuff. And what skills you would need as students? Obviously, programming skills, computer science skills, and scripting skills, good amount of machine learning, deep learning, database, and of course, most important stuff, curiosity. Curiosity to learn constantly. Don't be curious just one day and forget it. You have to be curious every day morning, okay? And what courses you can pursue? Obviously, computer science, AI, machine learning, electronics and communication engineering, robotics, mechatronics, mechanical engineering, industrial engineering, production engineering, because lots and lots of applications are in areas like supply chain and logistics, telecom, and you can go to law and still be in robotics because there are lots of issues. If an autonomous car kills somebody, who is responsible? Is a question which today's law does not understand. So only tomorrow's laws will understand. And COVID has already shown, Balaji has shown a few things, medicine and robotics. I talked about the NIMHANS surgeon, neurosurgeon doing, okay? Core sciences, you could be a great math guy and you can do exceptionally well in AI and ML and robotics. You could do great physics, you should do great statistics. So to the parents, my special request is, please don't go necessarily by tag. What your children should learn tomorrow to benefit from AI and robotics is how well they learn. It does not matter what they learn. They can learn anything, but if they learn it well, AI and ML will have use for it. So all that I would say is, if only I were 50 years younger, I would have joined this crowd and benefited from it. You guys are lucky. You are going to have a great time, and I wish you the very best. Thank you. Over to you, Sujit.
Thank you so much, Professor Sadagopan. So learn well, learn anything, but you can, from any of these disciplines and all that, you can come into AI, is what you're saying.
Yes, I think that is a specialty of AI. I think, see, it is something like, I think I agree with Balaji. It is something like computing. See, question is, who can use computers? Everybody, right? Everybody is using Zoom, right? So AI will be exactly like this. And in the process, I think what will be nice for India and Indians is that whether we could play, in all humility, with no jingoism, we could play a seminal role. Can we be the plumbers for this new revolution?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that would So it is not only millions of jobs, you make a difference. I think, when we all landed in United States in 70s, okay, we had one kind of reception. But when I started going, I've been going every year, but over the years, for the 40 years, so today, the moment they see me and my tag like IIIT, so they recognize it. I think that is what computer science has done to this country. Right? Robotics will do the same thing, probably even more in the next 20 years.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
We'll come back to that a little later. Already some questions coming in. So to the viewers, the chat box is open. So send in your questions. My colleague Avik and I will ask those questions to the panelists. So I have one question here from Nitin. You kind of answered it, Professor, but anyway, if I'm looking for a career in AI, should I prefer CS or electronics for my bachelor's degree?
Doesn't matter once again, because you need both. You see, what possibly you don't see is inside of these robots, there are tons and tons of electronics. There will be new age electronics. So we are beyond microelectronics. There will be nano electronics. Okay. So the next generation of communication, next generation of sensors, the next generation of IoT. If electronics interests you, go for it. If computers interest you, go for it. All that I would say is don't spend too much time. Sometimes you may want something, you may not get it, but it doesn't matter. Plunge and go dive deep. Okay, and you will have millions of opportunities. So don't worry too much about which is the best. Everything is the best. Can you get the best out of it? How do I get the best out of it? I think that should be your question.
Okay. Professor Amudha, you want to add to that?
Yeah,
what kind of students do you get?
Yes. So, I mean, I add on to what Professor Sadagopan tell. Yes, he can choose any discipline, but specifically, I like to highlight that in Amrita, we have an interdisciplinary course in undergraduate, which is particularly AI, which has got a mix of all the components of CSE, mechanical and electrical. And so a student who has got a specific drive that he wanted to do an AI, I think that should be one of the choices. But has any other courses also, as I mentioned in the initial of the talk, it is a multidisciplinary course, or every discipline also has got a small factor of AI into the degree. So that's what I just wanted to add.
Okay. Balaji, what kind of talent do you hire?
So we hire from a lot of different backgrounds. In fact, so we have everyone from hired from top of IITs, including IIT Kanpur, and we also take from top US universities, all the way to we have found very smart engineers from a couple of slums nearby. So these people, after that 12th standard, one of the girls came to our office. Her mom. Hello, can you guys still hear me?
Yeah. I think briefly we missed.
Yeah, there was a power outage. There's a power outage, okay. This girl, we found her to be extremely smart with electronics, and we were able to train her as an electronics engineer. And she's doing her. We have also enrolled her in a engineering program. So she's doing engineering while still being an electronics engineer at our office. So we see talent in variety of different things. As Professor Sadagopan said, it is not just, you don't place too much emphasis on what stream. You just make sure that you are best in that stream. So being extremely smart, extremely being able to apply your what you have done, that is more important than your what your stream is.
Okay. There's a question for Balaji by Jannavi, and she asks is there any index or standard to understand if a particular profession will not get sort of automated, or what you had called Bangalore?
I don't know if there is anything. There is going to be automation, but automation is not as negative the word that people think of. So what it is going to push is make humans do far more advanced things. So we have a cheeky tagline that we put in robots so that the humans can be humans. So in a lot of these places, whether it is customer service and so on, if they do the same thing hundreds of times in a day, they become robotic. So they lose their humanity. So if the robots take care of that thing, your actual human who's doing the customer service or your bank operation, they would be far more humans. So, but automation is going to touch almost every sector. But in the last 300 years of history, from the Industrial Revolution onwards, it is that every piece of automation produces far bigger number of jobs than they destroy.
Okay, okay. A follow-up question, and this is from Sanjay, and this is, I think you briefly touched upon in the earlier part, saying that if QA jobs in the IT industry are a big source of employment, will it actually in the future times, will it actually stay relevant with all the automation? Something that you just briefly touched upon.
Is this question?
You want me to repeat the question?
Yeah, not able to hear you clearly.
Yeah, so you said like the QA part of it.
Yes. So Sanjay was asking that QA being a big source of one of those big job sources in the IT industry, will it actually stay relevant with all the automation?
In fact, we have been looking at multiple sectors. In each sector, there is going to be a level of automation, but in each sector, with the other companies that I've been talking to, there is always a big shortage of people to hire. In fact, I was recently recruiters and telling him that we can train people with tech, and he was telling me that join the queue. So getting if the QA person is having proper common sense and is able to apply, there are a number of jobs available even after automation. So do not worry too much about what will be automated and so on. That is a kind of a stress you guys should not take it. It is beyond you. What you have to look at is, how can I be doing my job with mindfulness and common sense? If you're able to do that, there are plenty of jobs available even in a tougher market like this.
Okay.
Question, the professors can answer this. Similarities and differences between AI and ML. This is a question from Surya. This is an issue that keeps coming up. AI, ML, how do you differentiate? Deep learning. What is the difference?
It's very simple. You see, ML as a term came from a slightly different discipline, called signal processing. And AI came from one kind of discipline, which is more to do with computing. Okay. So one could view it also as the two sides of a coin. So imagine something like this, like you show a machine a series of actions, and the machine learns some patterns from it and start reproducing it. Okay. So that is a typical AI kind of stuff. You try to kind of give them a chess playing program. It understands all the rules of the chess and trying to replicate. Okay. But machine learning goes one step ahead. If I keep playing the same thing, can I do better? Okay. Think of something like this. When you come to college, you learn something, right? And then you get a graduate. And then as you get into your job, as you start internalizing it, you get better and better and better. Okay. So the first part of learning is AI. The repetitively improved part of learning is ML. Okay. It's not an exact definition, but something which will possibly you will be able to relate to. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, one can put formal definitions. Yeah.
Okay. What about deep learning?
Okay. See, what really happens is that we all see even around us, right? So you have an office assistant. Okay. So that fellow will be going and posting letters every day. Okay. He learns at a particular level because he just learns only from that. But what happens, there are some smart fellows who keep going and posting the letters and coming, and actually find that there is an office where there is a call center is happening, and those fellows are actually learning English language. So she uses the information to actually find there are much better opportunities in learning language, and then becomes a BPO operator, BPO supervisor, starts earning 10 times more than an office boy. Okay, so that is deep learning. So deep learning, you kind of go much deeper. And normally, what is generally told is, that is how the brain works, right?
Okay.
So the brain is just not looking at you like a camera, right? the brain actually can make out that Sujit is smiling. Because I know Sujit for so many years, I know what is the level of smiling. Okay. So if he really kind of smiling because to be nice on the screen, or he's smiling because he's really convinced of it. Okay. So those are the deep learning, right? So that actually the machines can replicate the same thing. So in some sense, it is basically neural networks and deep neural networks. Okay.
Okay. Avik?
Yeah. There's another question. This is by Rajana. Sorry, and he asks that can you please explain what is reinforcement learning?
Okay. So I think you people have done a lot of homework. Okay. So I think I would ask Amudha to explain. Okay. So because what happens, she has been teaching courses like this. See, what happens is the moment you get into learning, you will actually have several of them. Okay.
Yeah,
probably deep learning, machine learning, reinforcement learning, or possibly the ones which you hear more often. So over to you, Amudha.
Thank you, Professor.
Yeah.
So I'll just start from the previous question also. So you can just consider this entire domain. There's a lot of confusion with the audience. What is AI, machine learning, and deep learning? You can just think of as a bigger Venn diagram. It's more easy for them to look at. You can put a bigger circle. AI is one big circle. Inside that, you have a machine learning. And deep inside, if you put a smaller circle, it is deep learning. So it's we wanted the entire system to be intelligence. So AI covers all forms of intelligence. So intelligent, if you wanted to look at with respect to data and how do you access and how do you make the data learn, it's machine learning. You have a large amount of data with you. How do you handle it across? You go for deep learning. And reinforcement learning is more closer to how do you interact with the environment. So we call it as exploitation and exploration. For example, when I'm interacting with you the first time, I get familiarized with your name, whatever it is. So that is the first level of learning. So I call myself as an agent. I'm interacting with the environment. I learn that. And the next time I understand your name or whatever it is. And then I go to the next step of what next learning I happen with the next interaction. So here it is a totally a different kind of learning. Like for example, you can take the robo. It can interact in any new environment, learn with the new customer, understand his personal needs in the new environment. It need not be trained with the older environment or whatever it is. He can interact with every interaction he acts with the environment, he learns a new. So that is called as reinforcement learning. Every time I interact and then get it back. Whereas your deep learning is a lot of data and machine learning is approaches how to handle your data. So you have all different forms of this. Generally human, you can just imagine all forms of AI is your interaction with the environment. How you gain your intelligence? You have been trained with something for quite a long of time, you gain intelligence. Sometimes when you enter into a new environment, you learn something new. So that is a new kind of learning. So it is all within you. So we just put some tags, technology names, and then put it across. But we are intelligent and we are trying to mimic with the machines to do that. So it's only different terminologies with the same task which we are doing every day.
Okay. Fantastic. I have a question from Malik Arjuna. What resources and journals do you suggest to stay updated with current trends in robotics and AI along with course curriculum?
Over to you, Amudha, because curriculum part you can best person.
You get that, Amudha? What resources and journals do you suggest to stay updated with current trends in robotics and AI along with course curriculum?
Along with course, there are a wide amount of journals specifically to the different domains. For example, if you wanted to specialize yourself in computer vision, you go for computer vision and pattern recognition. If you wanted to do neurocomputing, there is journals of neurocomputing. So there are wide ranges of technology which you have to explore specifically for. If it is a big data analytics, there is a specific journal of big data analytics, cyber security. So there are different components which I have been telling it across. So one, we have to master it across. There is no specific, because we have evolved a lot many things, and every specific terminology which I've introduced in the initial session of the lecture has got its own journals and a conference which you would be looking at it. So at the end of the day, when you're trying to resolve, you will just have to look at what is your specific interest area. And for example, my specific interest area, if I will tell it's computer vision. So we have a group which is working on computer vision. So we try to target conferences and journals related to that. And then there is an eye tracking, which tries to understand your gaze patterns. So journal of eye tracking, eye movement analysis. So you have specific journals and conference targeting to that specific domains. And so initially you can do a general reading, and then later on you will be entering into your specific domains and target that specific conference. But the first practice as a person, as a starting step for your research, you have to start participating in conferences. First, join a conference, listen to it, listen to people what they are talking it across, and then start going across based on your interest. So that's
maybe I'll just add. See, you can, the student, you can actually note down there is something called ACM, Association of Computing Machinery. They come up with what is called computing curricula. Okay, go on Google ACM computing curricula. And you also look at Google actually now has been last several years. They keep coming up with an index of what is called top 100 journals. So go to Google and ask for top 100 journals in AI. So you will get some. Okay. Yeah. And in fact, you will be spoiled for choice. You will get so much, and your biggest problem is where to start. And once again, I go back to my old statement. Does not matter where you start. Go dive deep.
These particular resources that you just mentioned, what kind of background should, I mean, can anybody understand it, or?
Yeah, see, this is typically the structure of a typical undergraduate curriculum in AI, ML. Okay. And, you know, this is the same association, ACM and IIIT, they do it together. They have been doing it for donkey's years. Earlier, it used to be computing curriculum, undergraduate computer science program some 30 years back. Then, you know, undergraduate computer science and computer engineering program. And now it is undergraduate AI programs. Lots of it is available.
Okay. So if I can add on the specific journals and conferences for robotics. So we are part of multiple robotics groups. One of them is the IEEE RAS, Robotics and Automation Society. This is one of the top groups in robotics globally. You can Google for IEEE RAS, RAS. And within that, there is a magazine called Robotics and Automation Magazine, RAM. And this Robotics and Automation Magazine is at the level of an entry-level person, entry-level person, like probably the second or third year undergraduate can understand this thing, because it's not as rigorous as the transactions papers. So that is, you could start with the Robotics and Automation Magazine, followed by the RAL, Robotics and Automation Letters. Then there is a transaction, IEEE Transactions on Robotics. So that would be more this thing. And then within the ACM's level, there is a HRI, Human Robotic Interaction. So the HRI as an annual conference. They also have the journal on human robotics interaction. So these are some of the starting points on journals and magazines one could start, but it would be at the level of second or third year at the minimum.
Okay. So second or third year of engineering, you're saying?
Correct.
For students, look at magazines which are fairly easy to read. Okay. And then the transactions are kind of, it will take a little bit of a while for you to kind of understand the transaction, because transactions are deeper papers. So once you get comfortable, and then you can get into transaction. You have to evolve to kind of read a transaction paper. Yeah.
And IEEE Spectrum is a basic thing, almost whether a person is interested in robotics or anything related to engineering. IEEE Spectrum at the minimum, like, first year students can start reading that. It is at the level of only at the basic thing.
Okay.
Just one question, Professor Sadagopan, would you suggest students of engineering in the second or the third year to regularly go through these magazines, some magazine or the other, to keep themselves updated or abreast with the recent developments that is happening in the world of robotics, AI or ML?
Absolutely. In fact, all that the reason why I said I envy these kids are that we all had a tough time. We had to wait for 6 to 8 months before journals could arrive in our library. Today you can get it instantaneously. And okay, don't even ask this. Okay, just go and do it. Don't even wait for second year. Do it from first year. You can do it even from school days.
Okay.
So these are all free, is it? All free resources.
Okay, let me see. Quite a bit of it is free.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one. Yes, there's one question here from Adishan. And the question is that how can the knowledge of AI or ML actually help students pursuing courses in branches like chemical or mechanical engineering, which may not teach these topics as part of the curriculum?
See, remember, curriculum is something which you get across the institute, right? So question is, you don't expect a chemical engineering department to be teaching a robotics course, just as you don't expect chemical engineering department to be teaching a mathematics course, right? But it is offered in the college. So similarly, robotics would be offered, or AI would be offered. Second thing is, the some of the core components of AI will be actually having a slightly different name, okay? If you do a good statistical course and statistical modeling course and advanced statistics course, that actually helps you quite a bit in the AI model building, okay? So I think what is important is pick up what is available and supplement it what is available outside the departments if it is possible. Otherwise, look up to the web, look up to the free courses where available. Some of the free courses are available in Coursera, etc. And look at NPTEL, which has 6,000 courses available free. So much is available, okay? So it is for you to, I think all that I would say is there is plenty of honey available. You as the honey bee should actually go and start sucking, okay? So there is no dearth of honey.
Okay. A quick clarification from Amudha also. I mean,
yeah, yes.
How necessary is a knowledge of a programming language to do AI and ML and all that?
So there is a lot of development which has happened across. I think the programming, it is not so difficult for anyone to have just gone to a very simplified way of programming. And then there are a lot of simulation environment where programming is not required. There is a simulation modeling environment where even a chemical engineering or a mechanical student can simulate the entire environment. He's a chemical student. He may wanted to simulate the entire factory environment and do an automation, but he can create in a simulation environment where he doesn't require programming. So you can just go on and then try to tools. There are a lot of tools which doesn't restrict that you have to learn a programming. So you have to conceptualize your idea. So the one basic task which every student has to do is I have to go ahead. I don't have to restrict myself to my domain. I have to assume that everybody is together working for the society. So I have to pick up a problem in a society, work for the society, and try to solve a problem in a society. So for that, I individually cannot do anything. I have to team up and then work together and then solve that problem. Okay. So that is the model. So it is not my own capacity. I have to have a team building. I think engineer, as an engineer, whatever it is, he has to go further away from his discipline and then look at how to solve a problem. Because engineers default, the only problem what we have to do is to solve the problems in the society. So I don't think the students has to have restrict with their discipline. He has to have the motive what he wanted to solve, and then automatically solution comes across. And has Professor tell, it is an open environment. A lot of resources are available, online resources. You have to only identify, ask what you want, and everything is available, and everybody is available to exchange ideas. So you can just go ahead and explore the world. The world is in your feet. It's not like 50 years before. You have to search for a research article, to read for a technology paper. We have to go for a library, bring it back, read it across. Not like that. Just a click of button, you get all the resources.
Okay.
So I think that's...
Okay. Professor Sadagopan, there's a question from Manisha for you. Sir, how far is AI from matching or surpassing human intellect?
Okay, so it is a hard question to ask because you assume that human intellect is something finite, so that there will be a crossover point. But what you don't realize is human intelligence is also evolving. We are far more deep learning fellows as human beings than any system which we build. So by the time AI comes to our level, we would have gone much further. Okay, so I think, let me conclude with a very simple statement. 50 years back, I was doing a computer science, and then I ran into a professor of psychology. So three of us, he said that, you guys should take a course in psychology. And we said, why, sir? And they said, look, you guys think computers are interesting, but how do you design computers? He said, we use the brain. I said, look, if computers can be interesting, and these computers are actually products of your brain thinking, right? So studying about brain must be far more interesting than studying computers. Right? So obviously, brain is a much better computer than any computer which we can build. So the entire artificial intelligence will be limited by, okay, so obviously we will become far more intelligent, we will become super intelligent. So this crossover will never happen, at least according to most of us. But we could be wrong.
Okay, okay. Do you have a hard stop or something? Can you have a couple of more minutes?
I have no problem.
Okay.
There's one question from Ronak, and this is like, how much is AI's contribution in democratizing technology and taking it to the masses? I think either any of the professors or Balaji can take this probably.
Okay, let me ask you a very simple question. I think one part. Okay, how many of you guys use Big Basket or Flipkart? Okay, I can't get an answer immediately, right? So the question is, okay, so the fact that you are able to deliver this within 2 hours, within next day, and a reasonably guaranteed delivery, etc., also happens because there are some gray orange robots which are able to do pick and choose so fast. So there is a truck there, and the orders come, and these robots go and take it, put it in the truck, and the truck moves. Okay, so already you are getting the benefit of democratization. So to give some numbers in this country, logistics cost used to be very high in this country. Elsewhere in the world, it is 10 to 15%. It used to be about 40-45% in India. It is already coming to about 30-35%. Hopefully, in the next few years. Obviously, your vegetables will be little cheaper. The rice which you order, the wheat you order will become slightly cheaper. So, is it not democratization? They are able to distribute medicines across, northeast this time. Some of the medicines were distributed using drones. Okay, it's definitely democratizing because it is not only the rich people in Delhi who get the medicines, even the poor fellow somewhere in the remote area of Assam is also able to get. So obviously, the technology enables more and more of democratization, but the larger forces, will the so-called powerful still keep things to themselves? We don't know. That keeps happening in humanity, that is outside of technology, but it is eminently possible in every aspect of it.
Yeah, and as Professor Amudha had also said, I mean, the point that you made about RPA, I mean, I hear from companies like Automation Anywhere and UiPath and all that, that they all have these ready-made tools. It's very easy for somebody to put together some of these bots and all that, or automate an entire process and things. So I think in some ways, a lot of democratization that way is also happening.
Bang on, you are right. So even many of the government departments which have a difficulty of finding people, etc., are able to provide some basic services thanks to RPA.
So I mean, I wanted to add one more point. So democratization is specifically you wanted to do what you wish to do. So for example, when you make a choice, when it's a large scale manufacturing, so you get a chunk of product which has been scaling for the entire population. But with the AI support or whatever it is, you can personalize your own specific product. For example, the mask which is being sold over here, you personalize with your face. So it means you design your product for yourselves. Don't you feel that is more democratic than anything across? So we try to touch every single person's decision. So we respect every single person's decisions. We value every single person's belief. So that's a lot of democracy with AI. That's my takeaway.
Yes.
One takeaway from my side. So just as a funny, this thing is in the industry, there's a lot of industry conferences that go into how to make existing terminology look sexy and appealing. So in that way, deep learning is a nice way to say linear algebra. Machine learning is a nice way to say statistics, and AI is a nice way to say logic, and IoT is a nice way to say connected devices. So it is while we have to pay attention to the terminology, just realize that a lot of this thing is part of a marketing hype too. Like, in industry, we do our best to make sure that the terminologies are properly getting their attention, but underlying these are having fundamental mathematics that is behind it. So if you are fairly okay with the mathematics, then these are all the resultant of this thing.
Okay, great. This over.
Sujit, you're on mute.
Yeah, so I think Balaji, just one question. I mean, these really cool robots that you have, I mean, are you able to build it in India, or do you have to do the manufacturing somewhere else?
these are all completely built in India, not just us, like even our suppliers are also in India. So pretty much everything is done in India.
Yeah.
So the government make sure that so we have to be completely Indian to be able to get their help.
Okay, fantastic.
Balaji,
good to know that.
Balaji, I forgot to ask you yesterday, but are all the suppliers from India, like each and every part?
I mean, apart from those things like processors and so on, which we do not manufacture. So 95% of the thing by value. The only thing is processors and LCD screens, which have to come from abroad.
Okay.
Really? Wow. Okay.
And which are those countries where you get those processors and the screens from?
So mostly Taiwan and Korea.
Taiwan and Korea. Okay, got that. But really good to know. I mean, the robots look really cool.
So much. Great. Thanks a lot. We run out of time, well over 11 o'clock now. Thanks a lot, Professor Sadagopan, Professor Amudha, Balaji. I think it was a great discussion. I'm sure the students enjoyed it. Thanks for coming on our platform. Okay.
Thank you, professors. Thank you, Balaji.
Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you.